All right. The NBA is rocking and rolling. I mean, teams re-signing players, teams making trades, making moves, shedding cap, adding cap. Let's talk about it. Sean Deveney is our man. Athlon Sports joining us here on the Sam Bourquin Show, 1310 WDPN. Sean, good afternoon. Happy NBA Day to you. What's going on?
This is so much better than the old days when it used to start at midnight. I don't know if you remember that, but they'd have things start at 12:01 in the morning. So at least now at 6 p.m. we get a little, you don't have to stay up till 4 in the morning to figure out what's going on.
Right. Some things have gotten better. Some things have gotten better. So let's start with the Cavs, and then we'll branch out and talk NBA with all the moves and things going on. Cleveland was able to get out from underneath that Okoro contract. They made a little deal with the Bulls to bring in Lonzo Ball. Lonzo's got, 1 year left, and then an option for another. Isaac I don't know. It just didn't work, Sean, for whatever reason. Never lived up to that lottery pick hype, and Lonzo just can't stay healthy. So what do you make of that move, and what direction do the Cavaliers go now?
Yeah, I mean it's sort of trading one problem for another, right? The Bulls like what they've seen from Lonzo Ball when he's been on the floor, but he's got these mysterious knees that seem to consistently prevent him from being on the floor. So that's the Bulls' problem. The Cavs' problem is that Isaac just never really, as you say, never really took those steps forward, especially on the offensive end. Just wasn't able to develop either a reliable outside shot or consistent ball handling. One or the other would have been sufficient, I think, to make him worthwhile. But certainly, I think they were hoping they'd get both from him. But as it stands, he's sort of a 3-and-D player who doesn't shoot the three very well. So so you ship him off to Chicago, and they'll see what they can do with him. And if you're the Cavs, you've got Lonzo Ball now. If Ty Jerome doesn't come back, he's a pretty good insurance policy. Even if he's never 100% of what he was when he first came into the league, I think the Cavaliers, we saw during the Pacers series, they needed more ball handling, and this is a guy who's that's his bread and butter. So a good move for both sides.
Sean, the Cavs also inking Sam Merrill to a contract extension, and I looked at the contract, and I thought, gee, many Christmas. But then I looked at it again, and thought, okay, well, maybe it's not all that bad. Maybe this sets up for something else down the road, being a pretty good tradable contract. You mentioned Ty Jerome. Percentage 1 to 100% that he's back with Cleveland.
I would put it, probably around 25%. I think it's more likely that he's gone. I think the move for Lonzo was, sort of an acknowledgement that they're probably not going to be able to spend that money to keep him. The question is, did he play well enough this season? In after really just being a journeyman for the first part of his career, did he play well enough to convince a team that he's worth a 4-year deal, that he's worth something that that you can really see him as an investment rather than still in that journeyman role. That's going to be because if it's going to be a 1-year deal, he might as well go back to the Cavs. But
right.
If there's a team out there, and I think there is that thinks this is a guy who we want on a longer term deal, then he's certainly gone.
Sean Deveney is our guest. Check him out. Athlon Sports does a terrific job with the NBA. All right, so I'm going to kind of work back here a little bit, Sean. Then we'll come back up to speed on Monday. Let's start with LeBron. He decides to opt in, just a little bit under $53 million, going against the cap. He knows that they're probably not going to be a contender, I wouldn't think. What's the play there? Is this just to get that 1-year retirement tour? Does he want to play past this next year? What's going through the mind of LBJ at this point?
Yeah, I mean, usually what he does is that he opts out and then signs a 2-year deal with the second-year option. This is the first time. I think he's done this 8 times in his career, in his 23 years, where he would normally sign a 1-and-1, as they call it, where it's 1 year, for sure, and then 1 year at his option. This is the first time he's picked up the option. And, certainly that, combined with the fact that Rich Paul gave this strange statement to ESPN that seemed to indicate that he's not all that on board with them getting Luka Doncic and with the direction of the franchise, that certainly opened some eyes around the league. But the fact is, when you start getting into, okay, what could actually happen here? Could we see a LeBron James trade? There's just no way. There's just it's too weighty. It's too difficult. He has a no trade clause, so he would have to approve anything that happened. A team trading for him would have to gut its roster for a 40-year-old player. It's just going to be too difficult. But it does set him up to be a free agent next summer, and there'll be a lot more cap space on the market next summer. So I don't think this will be his last season. I think it could be his last season in Los Angeles, though.
I would happen to agree with you, my friend. I saw some video yesterday of him working out, and I kept telling myself, okay, dude's 40 years old. This guy's 40 years old, and he was hammering the ball through the hoop, shooting threes, running line drills. He just looked in impeccable shape. How many more years do you think he plays, Sean?
I think he wants to at least get back to the finals, and so it's going to be a race against. How quickly can he be on a contending team, whether it's the Lakers or somebody else, and versus when his body eventually just gives up and says that's it, you're 45 now or whatever it is, and you can't do it anymore. That it's going to be sort of a race between those. I would say probably 2 years. He plays out next year, probably plays another year after that, and I think that might be it. But I would say no more than the Tom Brady, 45 years old. Like you could maybe see him getting there, but I would say probably 2 years is the safest bet.
Okay, some other moves that popped up fast and furious over the weekend. James Harden, 2 years, 81.5, coming back to the Clippers. You talk about the Clippers, man, and their owner, Steve Ballmer. They've got that new Intuit Dome. They seem to, people seem to be kind of rallying around the franchise now that they've got their own building and this, that, and the other, but they still haven't been able to get over the hump. Where are you with the Clippers franchise right now?
Yeah, if everybody had if the players on that team had the enthusiasm that Steve Ballmer has for basketball and for really wanting to win, then that might be a much different situation, because you've got a team of players who have some talent, but it just really don't seem to have much interest in putting it all together. And we've seen this time and time again. They always look to me like a team that, man, if they catch fire in the playoffs, and then they never do. It just doesn't happen. James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and now they've got Powell. Ivica Zubac had a great season, but all that they accomplished this year, they wind up going out in the first round of the playoffs. So I think you have a team that I can understand why you bring Harden back. He had a good season. You're probably not going to be able to replace him, but at the same time, you're just signing yourself up for more of the same. It's just hard to see, how they're going to advance from here.
Al Horford apparently still undecided on his options for next year. Here's a guy, last year, 9 points, 6.2 rebounds, about 28 minutes. Old Al's getting up there a little bit. What would a good fit be for Al Horford and vice versa?
Yeah, he'd like to return to the Celtics, but he also wants to compete. And I think with Jason Tatum out with the Achilles injury, that's probably going to make it sort of a gap year in Boston, so to speak. Where you're not going to be. I don't think he really wants to leave the Celtics. I think if it's a 2-year deal and the money's right, I think he'd go back to Boston. But the thing is that we know they're not going to be competitive next year, and B, they're still dealing, even though they've made some moves, they're still dealing with the financial pressures of those aprons. So I think a team like the Warriors, for instance, could certainly be one. They have some interest in Al Horford, and you can look around the league. A team like Houston. Assuming they make another trade, which it seems like they're lining up for it. If you've got a team that you really need some veteran help, a veteran presence, Al Horford's as good as it gets. So, those would be a couple teams that really stand out as possibilities there.
Sean Deveney is our guest. Athlon Sports does a terrific job with covering the NBA. This was a kind of a head scratcher for me. The Utah Jazz trading Colin Sexton for Jusuf Nurkic. What is the end game with the Utah Jazz? They're going a million different directions right now.
Yeah, they're sort of doing this weird tanking thing. But their problem is that they've got a really good coach in Will Hardy, and they've got some really good players, and they're finding it hard to tank. They're finding it hard to lose the number of games that they need to lose in order to get to the top of the draft. And certainly with the way the lottery is now, it's just not working out. So yeah, they're kind of a giveaway of Colin Sexton. They certainly exhausted the market. They tried to see everything that they could get for him, and in the end, they wanted to do more of a dump sort of situation, which is what they did. So Colin Sexton for all the injuries and all the struggles that he had, he's come back with some nice seasons the last couple of years, and so you would have thought there'd be more value for him, but Utah's really not interested in winning right away.
DeAndre Ayton negotiating a buyout. Where do you think he will end up?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the more stunning things. And as we go forward with the new collective bargaining agreement, it's something that we might see more of. Where instead of waiting to the trade deadline, as we so often see, teams will just kind of get ahead of this. If they can save a little bit of money now, it's going to be worth it for them. So we're going to probably see more of these buyout situations, which was really shocking. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is 7 years removed from being the number one pick in the NBA draft, and now you have a young Portland team that doesn't want him, just doesn't want him around. So. And they're going to wind up paying $30-something million basically to have him go play somewhere else. The Lakers would certainly make some sense. He's not a defensive-minded guy, though, so it's a little bit of a dodgy fit. They'd need another guy in there if that's going to be the case. Certainly, the Warriors are a team. Again, we talked about them with Horford, but they're a team that's in need of another center and some size, and he wants to go to a place where he's going to be visible and have a chance to earn another contract next year. So, those would be a couple situations. Certainly, he could go to a place like Miami or something where where he'll probably get a little more playing time. Playing next to a Bam Adebayo, but he's really going to be in a situation where, look, I've got 1 year, I've got to make the most of this and come back to free agency next season.
A couple other guys I just want to throw around and see what you think. Duncan Robinson declining the early termination option to become a free agent. What kind of a fit would a Duncan Robinson be with somebody? Here's a guy, about 10, 11 points a game last year. 3-point shooting is decent, 39.7%. What would be a good fit for him?
Yeah, I mean, he probably winds up going back to Miami, if it's a situation where, he gets a longer term contract, but basically reduces the upfront number, goes from $19 million this year down to, let's say, 12, and signs, 3 years for $40 million or something like that. That's the kind of situation we could see with him in Miami. I think that's the preferred situation, but he's going to be open for business if there's other teams out there who need some shooting, and no question that there are. It's going to be a matter of, though, is there another team out there that can give them more than what Miami would give him? Because you'd have to spend, a significant part of your mid-level exception, which is that $14 million that every team gets, but not every team has it. If you're over the tax, you don't have it. It gets a little complicated, but there's not going to be that many teams that could afford to bring him in. So it might be tough for him to find another thing. I think that winds up with him going back to Miami.
And the reason I bring up the Bobby Portis with the Bucks 3 years, about $44 million is eventually Giannis Antetokounmpo. How do you see this playing out? Is Giannis going to stay with the Bucks short term, long term, forever? Who is in play financially for somebody like that, and how many years? What would have to happen for that kind of a blockbuster deal to happen?
Yeah, I mean, he's in a position. He would have to ask them to trade him. They're not going to trade him of their own accord. He's going to have to ask, and they're going to try to put together a team and basically go to him in a couple of weeks here and say, this is what we've got. This is where we're heading this year. And this is why we think we can compete. And at that point, he's going to say, I just don't think that this is going to work. And let's make a move. And, that is probably how this should go.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at where Milwaukee is with the Damian Lillard contract sitting on their books and him out with his own Achilles injury, that's just too difficult. It's going to be too difficult to build a team there. So really, this should wind up with the Giannis trade. The question is whether it's going to happen this summer or if it happens closer to the deadline. But it's going to happen fairly soon, because right now this organization just has no assets left. It's pretty much bankrupt in terms of tradable pieces. So Giannis is the only thing they can do as far as making a trade goes.
Sean Deveney is our guest. One more before we let you roll, and I want to preface with this: when I listen to teams' press conferences, no matter what league, what sport, I always try to listen for what they don't say. That's where you really kind of learn something. With the NBA and everything that's going on, some places it's very, very quiet. Some places it's very, very noisy. Is there something, do you feel like something humongous is brewing and about to drop here at some point in time? Or do you think we're pretty much going to ride that fine line of a little bit of activity here and there, but nothing great?
Yeah, we mentioned the Giannis thing. And I think that's going to be a real thing. I think we're in a situation too where free agency is just not what it used to be. Teams don't clear out cap space and go sign guys anymore. So we're really not seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of trades. And so I do think that you're going to get this first wave. So what's going to happen is this first week, from now until when Summer League starts, basically July 7th, you're going to see teams signing players and making these, minor adjustments. And then you're going to see teams sit down and say, okay, and then this isn't good enough, or this isn't working. We've got to change something for our future. And then you're going to see, a lot of the big trades being discussed. And that could take all summer. I mean, that could take all summer. And we've seen it before, where it's not till September that these things finally get done. But you're talking about LeBron and Giannis, and you've got guys like Jonathan Kuminga in Golden State. You're going to have a lot of guys who are probably going to wind up getting moved around here, possibly in some kind of large scale deal. We've seen this in the last few years. I think that's going to be how it plays out this year.
Yep, I agree. Every once in a while I get this crazy, funny feeling that I actually believe. I think something crazy is going to happen. I hope I'm right, but God, I couldn't tell you where it's going to happen. Sean, I appreciate the time as always. Sean Deveney, Athlon Sports. Give him a look up, give him a follow on Twitter, on X. Does a terrific job. Sean, as always, we appreciate the time.
All right, thanks, man.
There you go. Sean Deveney, our guest here on the Sam Bourquin Show, breaking down everything in the NBA. Free agency, trades, the Cavs. Hold on, baby. Might get a little wild here sooner than later.